Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if something was looking back? Stick around for a few minutes, because what you're about to see might change the way you look at the stars forever. And hey, before we dive in, if this kind of content gets your curiosity going, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I always love reading where everyone tunes in from. Let's get into it. Our first case takes us to a quiet residential street in Chennai, India, filmed on a clear night this past February. A local resident stepped outside for some fresh air and noticed something strange floating above the rooftops. What he caught on camera was a ring of lights, glowing in a soft green hue, arranged almost too perfectly in a circular pattern. Tucked among the green glow was a single white light that flickered on and off in an irregular rhythm. Now, plenty of skeptics would jump straight to drone here, and honestly, see, that's a fair first guess. But here's the thing: when you watch drone footage side by side with this clip, the movement just doesn't match. Commercial drones tend to drift, tilt, and correct themselves in the air. This object stayed locked in place, almost like it was suspended by something we can't explain. What do you think is really going on here? Type drone in the comments if you think it's man-made, or craft if you think it's something else entirely. I read every single comment, so don't be shy. From India we head over to a rural stretch of land in Russia, filmed in the middle of February as well. The witness described the night as unusually still, no wind. No clouds, just a strange haze sitting low in the sky. Through that haze a cluster of lights appeared, spaced out in a formation that almost looked deliberate, like pieces on a chessboard. What's odd is that, despite how high up they appeared to be, they still looked massive, which tells us they were either enormous or much closer than they seemed. There was no drifting, no wobbling, nothing that screamed consumer drone to anyone who's ever flown one. If you've ever operated a drone yourself, I'd genuinely love to hear your take. Does this footage look remotely familiar to you? Or does it feel like something else entirely? Let me know down below. Now here's one that gave me chills the first time I watched it. This next clip reportedly comes from Brazil, filmed sometime in 2025. Near a regional airport at night. The object hovers just off in the distance, seemingly stationary for several long seconds. The person recording says they were filming from an apartment building overlooking the runway. Here's what makes this one stand out. Airspace near airports is some of the most tightly regulated in the world. Flying an actual drone that close to a runway isn't just risky. It's illegal in most countries, which raises the obvious question: if it wasn't a drone, then what exactly was hovering there? Some viewers who've seen this clip online point out that the lighting pattern resembles LED arrays used on some aircraft, while others insist the silhouette is unmistakably saucer-shaped. I'll let you be the judge on this one. Pause the video if you need to look closer, and tell me honestly, man-made or something we don't have a name for yet. Alright, let's shift gears for a second, because up until now we've only been talking about the sky. But what if I told you these things might not stop at the clouds? A group of recreational divers exploring open water say they encountered something that still gives them goosebumps to talk about. While filming marine life, their camera caught a smooth, sphere-shaped object gliding through the water at a speed that didn't match anything biological. For those unfamiliar with the term, when something unexplained shows up underwater instead of in the sky, researchers sometimes call it a USO, an unidentified submerged object, instead of a UFO. And honestly, when you watch the clip, it makes sense why. The object doesn't swim, it doesn't have fins, a tail, or any of the features you'd expect from a fish ray or any known sea creature. It just moves, smooth and deliberate, almost gliding past the camera before vanishing into the dark water beyond. Considering how little of our oceans we've actually explored, some estimates suggest we've mapped less than a quarter of the seafloor. It's not that far-fetched to imagine something down there we simply don't have a name for yet. So tell me, do you think this was some kind of rare, undiscovered marine life? Or are we looking at proof that these objects operate below the surface too? I want to hear your theories. Back up to the sky we go, this time landing in China, in footage said to be from a few years back. A man standing near an empty train platform in the evening noticed something massive drifting downward from the clouds. What he caught on camera was enormous, flat, pale in color, catching the last orange light of the setting sun across its surface. The shape is the one most of us picture instantly when we hear the word UFO wide. a disc-like silhouette that seems almost too classic, too textbook, to be a coincidence. And that's exactly where the debate splits people right down the middle. Some viewers who've seen this clip argue every shadow and reflection lines up naturally with real sunlight, which is notoriously difficult to fake convincingly. Others aren't so sure, pointing out how advanced editing software has gotten in recent years. Personally, I go back and forth on this one every time I rewatch it. What's your gut reaction, real or well-made fake? Comment below. I want a real debate going in the comment section on this one. Next up, we've got a clip that feels almost like found footage from a movie, except it's real life. Two friends were out hiking through a rocky, uneven hillside when they stumbled across an oddly shaped rock formation, the kind of thing you'd normally just snap a quick photo of and move on. But then something caught their eye tucked into a gap between the stones. A small, disc-shaped object just sitting there, motionless, almost like it was resting. You can actually hear the panic and disbelief in their voices as they realize what they're looking at. The object stays still for a few seconds before suddenly shooting upward and out of frame, as if it somehow knew it had been spotted. The footage is a little shaky, understandably so, but the object itself is still clearly visible before it disappears. It's led a lot of people to speculate that remote, hard-to-reach places like hills, canyons, and dense forests might be exactly where these things prefer to stay hidden, away from crowds and cameras. Have you ever been hiking somewhere remote and felt like you saw something that just didn't add up? I'd genuinely love to hear that story in the comments. And finally, we're ending with what might be the most jaw-dropping clip in this entire lineup. This one comes from deep in a forested region of China, filmed by someone out exploring on foot. At first, he assumed the object slowly descending through the trees ahead of him was just a low-flying plane, something ordinary, but the closer it got, the clearer it became that this was nothing like an aircraft. Even from a distance, once he zoomed in with his camera, the sheer size of the object became obvious. This wasn't some small hobbyist drone. This was massive. The surface appeared pale, almost white, with a texture that's hard to make out due to the age and quality of the footage. But the shape leaves little room for guessing. It's the same disc silhouette we've seen throughout this entire video. What makes this particular clip stand out to a lot of researchers is the timing. This footage is said to predate the kind of AI editing tools and CGI software that make faking this sort of thing trivial today. Back then, pulling off something this convincing would have required serious time, money, and expertise that most regular people simply didn't have access to. That doesn't prove it's real, of course, but it does make dismissing it a little harder. So here's my question for you before we wrap up. Out of every clip in this video, which one convinced you the most? Was it the one hovering near the airport, the one underwater, or this last one deep in the forest? Drop your pick in the comments. And while you're at it, let me know if you've ever had your own encounter with something you couldn't explain. I read every comment, and honestly, some of the best stories I've heard have come straight from you all. That's going to wrap things up for today. As always, if any of these clips gave you that little chill down your spine, let me know which one hit hardest. And if you're the kind of person who can't get enough of this stuff, stick around because there's a lot more strange, unexplained footage where this came from. Until next time, keep looking up and maybe keep your camera ready too. Take care, everyone.